Group. Going to focus in on two key questions, and we're pleased to be joined from my native North Carolina by journalist DC McAllister and via Skype from Connecticut by our good friend Dick Morris. Thanks to you both for standing by. DC in the Queen City of Charlotte. As you were watching this thing tonight, I basically have two questions here. Number one, who won the debate? And number two, who can win the general election? Could it be the same person?
I think the winner of the debate was a tie between Rand Paul and Marco Rubio, with the edge to Marco Rubio, with Cruz as a close third. So the senators took the day, and I do think any one of them could definitely win a general, but Marco is really moving to the future, as he said. I think he was refreshing in this debate. He connected with people. He had policies that made sense. He has some problems with some of his positions, which Rand Paul exposed, but he, I think, really appealed to people. Rand Paul, I was very pleased to actually hear from him for once. He has a lot of good things to say. He's very thoughtful. He is very experienced, and I think that came out. And I love that he said, the TPP has nothing to do with China. So that was kind of a dig at Trump. So it really showed his gravitas there.
Dick Morris, earlier, if I recall, you seemed to think that the two folks still leading in the polling, Donald Trump and Ben Carson, did pretty well. I'm going to ask you to boil it down and basically answer the same interrogatives I tossed to D.C. Who won the debate? Is there someone in particular? And can that same person win the general election?
Yeah, I do not believe Carson did well in the debate. I think that he was half asleep and totally out of it and showed that he doesn't really know these issues or understand them. I think the winner was Trump. I think that he recalled the kind of feisty, aggressive, irreverent style, brawling style, some people said, that he brought to the first debate and some of the second, but not to the third. And I think this will help Trump, and I think Carson will drop in the polls, partially because of all the negatives on him, but more likely because of this debate. I thought that Rubio and Cruz were both helped, and I think it really strengthens the argument that this could eventually come down, if Trump fades, to a Rubio versus Cruz contest. I thought that Bush really was terrible. I think he's basically out of it. Kasich looked weird. His screaming about having time, his regurgitating endlessly the same speech about Washington and Ohio and balancing the budget and the whole bit. I just thought that was kind of weird. Fiorina was articulate and well-spoken, but I don't think significant enough to blast her way back into the race. And I think Rand Paul is still hobbled by his foreign policy positions, which are quite different from those of most Americans.
So a little disagreement between Dick Morris and DC McAllister over Rand Paul. Folks, I'm going to take you back to a moment in the debate that offered a great deal of disagreement and really set up a fault line with Jeb Bush and John Kasich speaking out on their notion of comprehensive immigration reform, and Donald Trump and Ted Cruz standing tough on the border and rejecting the notion of amnesty. Let's listen to what became a de facto tag team match within the debate.
We are a country of laws. We need borders. We will have a wall. The wall will be built. The wall will be successful. And if you think walls don't work, all you have to do is ask Israel.
But if people think that we are going to ship 11 million people who are law-abiding, who are in this country, and somehow pick them up at their house and ship them out of Mexico to Mexico, think about the families. Think about the children.
What we need to do is allow people to earn legal status where they pay a fine, where they work, where they don't commit crimes, where they learn English, and over an extended period of time, they earn legal status. That's the path, a proper path to make this work.
The politics of it would be very, very different if a bunch of lawyers or bankers were crossing the Rio Grande. Or if a bunch of people with journalism degrees were coming over and driving down the wages in the press.
Now, DC McAllister, you are a journalist by trade. I know you don't take that personally. Perhaps it echoes what you were telling us earlier about Cruz being pretty effective tonight.
I think he was, and they have been doing that tag team bit all along, him and Trump. And they are strong on immigration. They're going to remain strong on immigration, and it appeals to a lot of people. And, I agree with Dick in the sense that, Trump remains strong. I don't think he changed who he was. It's been working for him so far, so maybe it will continue to work for him. I would not be surprised if people say he won this debate. As far as how he came across and maintaining that strength, and immigration has been his strong point. He is hitting a nerve in the American people who are concerned about what's happening to the country, and he's not going to back down from that. And even with Kasich being very desperate sounding over there, saying, you just can't do it, it's for the children. So, yeah, I think he's going to remain strong, and Cruz is definitely along there with him.
Dick Morris, about a minute and a half remains, and D.C. pointed out the fact that there's been this kind of rhetorical alliance between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump for the bulk of this campaign, really, since Trump started to really become that sensation in the polls. I guess in the vernacular today, they might be called frenemies, but do you see possibly a bumper sticker, since a lot of folks are looking at Trump as the guy who's going to, they expect him to win the nomination. Can you see a bumper sticker that says Trump and Ted? Would that possibly be the ticket?
No, I don't think so. I think the Republican Party is going to have to put a woman on the ticket for vice president. I would bet on Carly Fiorina for that any day. But I think Nikki Haley possibly. But let me go back to Trump. I think that you can characterize Ted Cruz not as Trump's opponent, but as Trump's understudy. If Trump begins to falter, if people begin to doubt his ability to win the general, if he keeps making mistakes like turning to Fiorina and say, why is she always interrupting people? Those kinds of things can really aggregate and hurt him.
So if Trump gets a flat tire, we could go to cruise control. D.C., 15 seconds. You agree with what Dick had to say there?
I don't think Trump turning on Fiorina is going to hurt him. It hasn't in the past. It's not going to hurt him now. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I do think that Trump is kind of like the offensive lineman, and Cruz is the guy with the ball. So I do think that might be the arrangement there.
Well, as an old offensive lineman, I can appreciate that. DC McAllister in Charlotte, Dick Morris in the nutmeg state of Connecticut. Folks, you have our thanks. Coming up, our friend Grover Norquist as our Newsmax TV special continues.